Welcome to the Free World Hustle podcast. I am your host, Chris Guzman. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What is the Free World Hustle podcast? Glad you asked. Let's break it down. Free World Hustle. Free World, if you don't know, you've probably not been incarcerated or know somebody that has been. When you have been incarcerated in jail or prison, locked up, we dream about getting out, going back into the world, into the free world is what we call it because we're not free. We're locked up. We're behind bars. So we always say, hey, man, when I get to the free world, I can't wait to hug my kids. I can't wait to go eat a homemade tortilla or whatever it may be. So the free world hustle, you add hustle to the free world, is people that have been previously incarcerated. Now they're out into the free world and now they have to develop a new skill or a way to get the bag. So, a new hustle. And lots of people don't want to hustle. They're like, you know what, Chris, I don't want to hustle and grind. I just want to get paid. But sometimes when you've been incarcerated for so long, or even for a little bit of time, there's a lot of catching up to do. So we got to hustle and grind to get back that time and the things that we miss and whatever the feds took, your house, your cars, your money, bank accounts. I don't know. So we always feel like we have to get back to that grind. And so that's what I am here for. What we are here for at the Free World Hustle podcast is to help you get that grind and hustle legally. Legally. Why, Chris? Why? Why would you want to do this? I would want to do this and assist those that are coming back out because I'm tired. I'm tired of the vicious cycle. I'm tired of us not knowing another way to get out of just in a circle. It's just like we if if our mind frame and set and knowledge, everything we know is the same. It's kind of like what they say about what's you know what I'm talking about when they say if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same outcome. Yes. So I am here to inform you of other ways to make money, whether it's a hustle, whether it's a job that hires felons, a company, a temp agency, if it's a book that can help you open up your mind and brain to think a different way, anything to give you hope, resources, um, statistics, because what you don't know is what you don't know. So I'm here to help you learn, know, gain knowledge so that way you can change because I know you want to change. Everybody that I know always, and maybe they're just good storytellers or good writers, but they write these letters and give these phone calls and say, hey, man, babe, when I get home, I promise I'm going to do right. I'm going to do right by you. I'm going to leave that other side chick. I don't need no side chick. I'm going to take care of my baby. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to buy you a house. And maybe they're all lies. I don't know. But everybody I know, they want to do right. They want to get on their feet. They want to not turn back. They do not want to come back. And that's what I'm here to make that success rate go up because that rate, when you look at that percentage, it's like, you know, um, and that's without me even looking. I just know. How do I know? Because yes, I was one of those people. I have been incarcerated. I was incarcerated over 20 years ago. I made one huge mistake. And yes, I made very little ones after that. But I made one huge mistake that got me into the federal penitentiary. That's right, to the feds. This face don't look like it, right? No, it does not. But there's lots of people in there that look like me as well. And because we're all just, you know, people want that fast cash. They want that easy money. And at the end of the day, you're going to end up where? In prison. Hello. Dead or still running, you know? And what's sad is that a lot of us knew how to do the legal grind, and it just wasn't enough for us. It wasn't enough to sustain the bills or the livelihood or whatever it is that we had. So a lot of us had real jobs, successful jobs, and we were doing this other drug dealing or hot checks or whatever it was people were doing on the side for that extra income. So Chris, why were you in prison? If you must know, I was in prison because I was a wee little girl, and I basically was out of high school. I was working at a bank, which currently does not exist, which was Washington Mutual. I was probably making about $17 an hour, which was good money back then. And I had a roommate. He was a very, very good friend growing up, and we were roommates. I would come home after working 10 hours, and he literally was there with friends and girls and homeboys, and they're drinking and playing cards before they actually go to the strip club to go drink again and throw away hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they'd invite me. And I'm like, no, I can't go. I have to get up early. I'm tired. I'm going to work another double tomorrow. I had goals. I wanted to buy nice cars, nice things. And after like seeing this day in and day out of coming home, I was just like, you know what? Hook me up. Let me in. And he said no. He said no. And I'm like, why not? He said no because we're childhood friends. So he knew who my father was. And he was not wanting to get in trouble. He did not want to get a bad name for himself. He did not want to be the one that took me that route. So he said no. And when you got your mindset, nothing can stop you. And that's exactly why we're trying to change your mindset, the way you think. So I had my mindset as I want to make this easy money. I'm going to figure out how to make this easy money. So I communicated with different other people, different friends. Of course, they're going to let a young girl in and become a driver and transport drugs from the Mexican border. So there I go, driving to El Paso, Texas, to meet up with some people that I'm supposed to pick up this car that is loaded with marijuana, 167 pounds in the gas tank. How do you even get 167 pounds in the gas tank? Well, easy. They compress them with this little food compressor, and then they took the back seat off and they kind of cut that sucker open, and then they put them in there and they're floating in there, and the gas tank cannot be full. So even though your gas tank is showing full, like you can run out of gas at any time. So they're trying to describe everything to me. But back it up. I was only supposed to be the driver from El Paso to Dallas, Texas, and get about $7,000, which was a lot for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. All I got to do is drive and not get pulled over. I got this. I don't got this. What had happened was the driver that was supposed to drive it from Mexico to El Paso across the border called in sick. This was 2 days away from Christmas. And I'm like, no, I cannot. If I wait till after Christmas, because that's when they said the driver said they'll be fine, then I would miss Christmas and my parents would know what I'm doing. Even though I didn't live with my parents, I was still scared of them. If I missed Christmas, they would know something was up. So I was so in fear and scared of my parents, of letting them down and knowing what I was doing, that I said, you know what? Give me the keys. I'll drive it. They looked at me like, wow, this girl got some cojones, right? That's what they call it, which is what men got, you know. But young and dumb. They told me how to do, what to do. I got those keys. I drove that car and I got to that Mexican border, the Bridge of Americas, El Paso and Mexican Juarez border, and they got me. They got me first time, and they got me, man. And there I am being interviewed and questioned by these FBI agents. And all I can think about is how much trouble I'm going to be in with my parents. I'm not even worried about the disappointment. It's more of like the trouble. Man. And that's how I got to federal prison. I got charged. And of course, if you didn't have any priors, if you were the only one, you were not a kingpin, you were not a drug addict, if you didn't have all these extra tiers, then you stay in like this tier. And my tier was like 18 months, right? But if you hired a good lawyer, you could have got away with probation. My dad took me to see a good, very, very good federal criminal law lawyer, and he guaranteed if we paid and hired him that I will not walk a day in prison and I would only do probation. So he was charging $10,000, which was a lot 20 years ago. It's a lot now. Heck, I wish I had an extra $10,000, but it was a lot. My dad borrowed the money. He gave me a check, I remember, and it said that family member's name. And I remember cutting it up, tearing it apart. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go with a free lawyer. I got myself in this mess. I am not about to put you on debt for this. It's my mistake. It's my bad. I'm going to try my luck with a court appointed lawyer. I did not get probation. I got 18 months plus 5 years probation. That's how that went. So I did step into prison. And luckily, the judge, they can do like a recommendation for programs. There's RDAP for people that have used drugs. And it lowers your sentence time. Like you can get out early if you succeed from this program. Same thing with a young person or any age that they recommend for boot camp. Boot camp is like a military boot camp, and it's instructed by these ex-military people. So they are your drill sergeants and stuff, and basically they're just putting you through all this mess where it's boot camp, thinking if you do all of this, we taught you it's rough in prison and you will not come back. First of all, I didn't make it to boot camp. You have to graduate from boot camp, which I don't think I would have graduated, to be honest with you, because they work these women horribly. But I did not even make it into boot camp because when you get recommended for boot camp, they send you to the real prison, which is across the street from the boot camp prison. You have to go to the real prison for about 2 to 3 weeks to do your physical, to do your mental health and all that stuff. They got to take you through psych and take you through all these things to see if your heart's good, your mind's good, and you're going to graduate from this thing, because they only take 60 girls and they want to make sure you're not taking somebody's spot and you can't even make it. So they send you to the real prison for 2 to 3 weeks, which I happen to get in trouble. The minute you get in trouble, it's like a ticket. It's called a shot. It's an infraction and it stops you from doing other things. So basically, long story short, I know you probably want to know details, but I went to the chow hall and my little dessert was oatmeal cookies. I don't even like oatmeal cookies. I wrapped them up for later because commissary is necessary and I hadn't had any commissary. I put them in my locker. There was a shakedown. They found my cookies, which was no big deal. Apparently, if you take food out of the chow hall, it is then considered contraband. It is federal property. Oatmeal cookies, federal property. They're probably expired. I don't even know. I didn't even try them. After that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to see an oatmeal cookie in my life. That gave me an infraction. I had to call home and say, look, I'm not going to make it home for Thanksgiving. Um, they asked me why. I told them about the cookies. They did not believe me. I wish I could change the story and say, hey, I got caught with, I don't know what, Waterburger. That was the real story, and I couldn't even make stuff up. They still don't believe me to that day, but I'm pretty sure I can ask for evidence of that. Um, that's why I went to prison. That's why my time. I want to say that my circumstances and upbringing had something to do with it, but I feel like it's all starts with you. I know so many people that were born and raised in the hood or had a father or a cousin or a brother that was a drug dealer, a drug user, and they they haven't been in prison. They have not dealt drugs. They did not do anything illegal. So I say all this because my upbringing is I was born and raised in the hood in Dallas. And what you know is what you know. And so I always knew I was somebody that wanted to be something. I knew that I was meant for greatness. And when I look around and I look at people that look like they were meant for greatness, that look like they had a good head on their shoulders, they had life going for them. They had the car, the kids, the nice the nice cars, the nice dress and jewelries. Every single person I turn and look to is a drug dealer. Not once do you see my lawn guy, all dressed nice, or spreading the word of how good the money is that he makes, and you don't see your pastor or your neighbor. You just see them coming home from work with their dirty boots and just tired, and your friends saying, "Oh, dad's home," like, "Oh, he's about to be upset. Don't make me call your dad." Like everything that I see around me, there was nobody that I can say, I want to be like that person. I want to be like that person. And not saying I said that about drug dealers, but that was literally the only person I could say, like, I want to be like that person. That's the only person that you saw with a beautiful spouse, beautiful kids, because money changes people. Those kids were not beautiful. It's just, all the designer they had on them and the jewelry and the cars. So it's not that they were good looking kids or they had good genetics. But, anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I was born and raised in the hood, and what you know is what you know. So what you don't know is what you don't know. We never had somebody come speak to us that was an entrepreneur, that was a business owner, that was an athlete. You know, you didn't have any of these kind of people come to our school talking to. Who you had taught to you was teachers. And I'm sorry, teachers alone would complain that they don't make enough, that they want to leave that job. When it came time to decorating, they're like, well, I can't decorate because the school don't pay me enough, So we're going home asking mom and dad for some decoration money for our school or our classroom for a competition because apparently the school doesn't pay my teacher enough for my home school grade teacher. So yeah, like these are our experiences and our upbringings. And it's just like, if we can start now, if we can start now by having these parents that are entrepreneurs or athletes or whatever you are, like we need to go back to having that um career day. You know what I mean? And quit just calling, like, we don't have career day in the hood. From what I know, I mean, we didn't have it back then, because I don't ever remember asking my mom or dad to come to career day. But it's always in the better neighborhoods. You hear that the better schools. It's like, yeah, we have career day. My dad's gonna go. He's a lawyer. Dad. We don't have that over here, and maybe we don't have that for a reason because we know the careers that we have in the hood are probably not legitimate. They're not legal. They're not something you want to be preaching to kids. Well, then maybe bring your own parents, teachers. Maybe bring your friends that you know to career day. Maybe they don't have to be the parents of these kids, but somebody that you know that's doing right, bring them. Have a career day because there's no other place that we learn that we know what's out there. I couldn't tell my dad, like, what does your friend do? What does your friend do? Hey, they're all drug dealers. So maybe we start with the education piece, then maybe that will brighten, our minds and our eyes. And I'm not here to preach or teach. I'm just saying this is what I did not see. Just like prison. My experience in prison is like, no wonder. No wonder people come back because you make it like a little camp. You make it like a hee hee ha ha. And I was in a federal prison camp, so it was a camp. You made it like a camp. You named it a camp. It was a camp. But when it came to the officers or your counselors, it was more like they're your buddies. All right, Guzman, what you eating today? You eating that crap? You got some commissary money. It was never like, Guzman, I don't ever want to see you step foot in here. You need to start acting right. Are you asking your family to send you books? Are you ordering books? You know what? I have a list of books. If you have somebody there on the outside, maybe they can order them for you. You know what? I can do even better. I'm going to ask the library to purchase these books and we're going to put them in that library. But nobody cares. And I hate to say nobody because there might be one in a million at every single place that cares, but it's putting forth that extra. And I know it's hard to ask for extra when you're not getting paid extra, but if you don't like what you do, then don't do it. That's it. That's all. Go somewhere else. Figure it out. I did. I did. Because my experience in prison, it was a damn camp. I felt like I was back at church camp without the church. It was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You wake up, you have a job, you have your friends, you have your clique, you do what you do, you hang out together, you have little jokey jokes with the staff, and that is it. Yes, in the background, there's other women having relationships with these guards and having babies and getting Taco Bell and getting brownie points and doing other things they shouldn't be doing. But if you're keeping to yourself, there's people that are changing their mind frame and they're exercising. They're making it a me camp. They're working out. They're reading all the books that they can do. Or you're picking up bad habits like smoking or dyeing your hair every week. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't work out. I picked up smoking, which thank God I quit. It was literally just a prison thing because I don't like that. I'm not like that no more. But anyways, what I learned what I learned in prison is that you can be whoever you want. And I say this because you don't know who is in there for what because nobody's looking at anybody's files. You're only believing what they tell you. So, for example, I'm in there for being a drug transporter. First time. I can say, hey, man, I was driving drugs. Man, I've been doing it for 10 years. They finally caught me. Like, you don't know. You don't know who's in there for what. You don't know if you're sitting next to part of the cartel, a murderer, or your local tax preparer. Like, you don't know, you know? But one of the stories I remember, I was sitting, you have like your common area that has little picnic tables or whatnot. And this girl was sitting on the one across diagonal to me. And I'm sitting there, and these girls are reading newspaper, and you're reading about the first case, the first whatever caught at the border, drug trafficking case caught at the border. She was the first one. Her family sent her the newspaper, like, we supposed to be proud, right? They sent her the newspaper clip where it was her at the El Paso border after Christmas, before New Year's or whatever. Basically, she was the first one of the year. So it was after New Year's. And I'm doing the math and I'm looking, and I looked at her And I asked her who she was driving for. She told me the name. It was the same name. She was supposed to be my driver. She was the one that was supposed to drive it from Mexico to El Paso for Chris to then pick it up to go to Dallas, Texas. But since she called in sick, Chris drove it across the border and Chris went to prison. Now, I'm not blaming anybody because I did what I did. I know what I said. But I looked at her and I said, why didn't you? I said, you were the one that was. She's like, oh, you drove it? I said, yeah. She's like, you got caught. I said, obviously, I'm in here, right? She's like, I just knew. She said, I had a bad vibe. I knew it. And I didn't want to be away from my family and my kids for Christmas. So I told the guy I would do it afterwards. She said, and look at me now. She said, I had a bad vibe there. You got caught. She said, I still had a bad vibe. We needed the money. I did it and I got caught still. But it just gave me another holiday with my family. I'm like, jaw drop. I was at that point, you're in prison. You're like, I could really beat this up, but I'm saved now. I was so upset. So upset. But, you don't want to show that. You don't want to. I'm a new person. That's all I got to say. Let's cut that out right there. That's what we got to say. But, anyways, that's part of my experience in prison. A little bit about me, a little bit about Free World Hustle. It's not going to be story time every time. I just feel like I had to let you know who I am, what I did, where I'm at now. I'm an entrepreneur. I do a lot of things, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about next week. Every single week, right here, Free World Hustle podcast, I'm going to give you a lot of bars. I mean, let's not say bars, a lot of gems. I'm going to be dropping knowledge on you. Bars, no bueno, not up in here, not today. Okay. So every week, we're going to be dropping some gems. I'm going to be giving you some hustle of the weeks, but I'm going to get through just talking and telling my story for the first 2, 3. And I'm going to bring you some interviews of some people that are like you and like me. Let's hope. Let's hope that you're somebody that are trying to change your ways, maybe came out, maybe you're waiting for pretrial, maybe you're on probation, still trying to figure out, or maybe you have a loved one in there. You know what? And every week when I'm giving you information and I'm giving you books or podcasts you can look at, send that to them. Email them, write them a letter, buy them that book because you need to help them now. You need to help them change that mindset now. Because the best thing anybody can do for their loved one is say, look, I don't want that mess. I don't want that mood at all. You don't have to deal drugs. You don't have to do this criminal activity. I want you home. I want you home for our kids. I want you home for these holidays. I don't want you gone. And that's what's going to happen. It's just going to be trouble at the end of the line. And I know everybody thinks it's a means to an end, but that end never comes because that money is too good to stop. So join us, Free World Hustle Podcast, every week where we're going to interview entrepreneurs, business owners, people that have a good job at a business that hires felons, people that have been there, done that, succeeded, and you can too. Y'all have a good week.